Hear that? That's the sound of my cockroach wheels spinning. This episode is brought to you by Cockroach Wheels, the original skateboard wheel company in Australia. They've been doing it since the 80s and they're still going strong. I'm currently riding the Jackson Pills Pro models, 54mm. So go to cockroachwheels.com. They ship worldwide. Thank you, Cockroach. Ew.
It's almost time. Rock. 7, 6, 5.
Tried to hold us back, tried to hold us back.
We will be here forever. Do you understand?
Yes. Hey, it's Shan here. This week, I catch up with Convic Skate Park's lead designer, Simon Bogalo. Simon joins myself and past guest and this week's guest co-host, Leon Paxton, in the studio for a full video production episode. We get loads of visuals up. We check out pictures of all the skate parks that Convic have been a part of and built and designed. And Simon just breaks it all down. He talks about everything that goes into getting these amazing projects out of the ground, from the design process to community consultation, community action, initiative, working with builders and concreters. There is so much that goes into it. It was mind-blowing. Simon also shares about his personal life and how he transitioned into becoming a skate park designer and finding that balance between career and passion. So that's inspiring and enjoyable to listen to. Now, the three of us met at Glebe Skate Park on the day of recording, and it was just such a fun day. We skated, but Leon also filmed a vlog of our day. And if you're not sure about what Leon does, he has an epic YouTube channel. It's called Leon Paxton, and he independently and unbiasedly reviews skate parks around Sydney, mainly around Sydney, but very other parts of the country. Sydney's his focus because that's where he's from, but he's so thorough and detailed in his explanations and research. No one does it better, in my opinion. So if you scroll down into this episode's show notes, you'll find a link to the vlog that he filmed of our day and also his other videos, so go and check him out. This episode is a video production episode, so if you want to watch it, you can watch it on YouTube via the Terrible Happy Talks YouTube channel. The audio versions are still available, obviously, on Apple and Spotify, so wherever you like to get your podcasts, it always helps if you can subscribe and follow. I'm trying to build that, obviously, like everyone else. But I like the video production episodes because we get the images up and we talk about it. We get some old skate clips from the 90s. And I love that we get an Artist of the Week now, which Steve Tierney has curated. And this week's featured artist is Brooklyn Whelan. And oh man, wow, his art is spectacular. It's these epic images of explosions and clouds that are all hand painted. So check it out. Anyway, you want to get a skate park built in your area, sit back, relax and take notes and enjoy getting to know Mr. Simon Bogalo.
Destined to rock for eons, time doesn't exist. Shut those cataracts, capture the virtualist. Now, let's get back to what makes things seem forever, whether it's unseen, unheard, or 16 again. Not a bother, fill this old man river, kill a floor that gives all.
Simon Bogalo, how are you, brother?
I'm good, man. I'm a tiny bit nervous, but I'm good to go.
Yeah, it's normal. You've only got 3 cameras on you and lighting.
It's not my normal environment.
Yeah, so just act natural. You know?
All right,
kidding.
bro.
Tell us about your day, man. So what has today entailed for you?
It's been pretty sick, actually. I flew up from Melbourne this morning and met you lovely gentlemen at the Glebe Skate Park. First time meeting Leon and yourself, Shan. And basically we had a little skate and talked about Glebe, talked about some of the obstacles, the story behind them, a little bit about how we design skate parks. It's been sick. It's been a nice day.
So share with everyone your actual job description. What do you do? Tell us about you.
So I'm a landscape architect. I've got a degree in landscape architecture, but I'm the lead designer at Convic Skate Park. So I head the team kind of creatively. We've got a bunch of architects, designers, landscape architects, engineers, all sorts in the team. And I'm kind of in charge of like trying to push creativity and make sure we're doing aspirational projects.
See, I never even considered that you would have those kind of people on your team, like landscape designers and architects. I'm like, no, it's all skateboarders, right? It has to be all skateboarders.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely need to skate to understand how to design these things, but just because you can skate, it doesn't mean that you're like going to automatically know how to design a skate park. Even for me, like I skated and I'm a landscape architect. I've been doing it for years, but when I started at Convic, like 11 years ago, it was a real rude awakening to like, oh, okay, you need this much run up for an obstacle. Like this is the sort of dimensions and, the radius, the height, the angles, all of those things that make a good skate park. It was like a lot of learning.
I can imagine. So we're joined by Leon Paxton today, and it's so rad having you here, Leon.
Thank you.
And is it a good moment for you hanging out with someone like Simon today?
It's good to hear what like we see a new skate park, like it's either good or it's bad, but we don't think of why it's good or why it's bad. So a lot of people complain about that or that, but we don't know the work that goes on behind the scenes and how long it takes and how much work.
Oh, man.
It's such a big process I'm learning now.
Yeah. I mean, every project is a battle.
Yeah.
Like it takes, I mean, the whole team's involved and all of us are so passionate about it. But like come opening day, we're pretty stoked to get to like that moment that we can hand it over to the community. And like there's a lot that people don't know about, even like under the ground, like most of the time we're getting the trashiest sites because you're getting the leftover land in Sydney, right? Melbourne, wherever you are. And a lot of the time they're old rubbish dumps. A lot of the cost is going into like fixing the geotech in the ground underneath before you can even start designing or building something.
Can we just circle back to what you said? A lot of the time they're old rubbish dumps, like so they're landfill sites. So are they often identified as the place to build a skate park because it's land that's less desirable?
I guess so. It's like, all the premium sites are taken and, a lot of the sites in Sydney, like Sydney Park, for example, is an old tip. And there was a huge amount of work that had to go into
those big mounds,
compacting that ground
those
so
hills,
it was suitable for a skate park. Because if you don't get the ground conditions right, the whole thing's going to crack and become, not functional for skating.
And that's a big process and can be a slow process from my understanding, waiting for everything to settle. And
so you guys will be familiar with Ride Skate Park. I know that you've done
the Meadowbank ride. Yeah.
So that one, for example, had issues with the ground, and we had to do what's called what's it called? It's like basically preloading to get compaction, and you basically push all the moisture out in the soil before you start building so that, it's not cracking later on. And that was 6 months before we could start building.
Dude. Yeah, people don't know. Hey?
There's a lot to it. It's a science, man.
Yeah. So we've had a rad day. So the three of us went skating for most of the day at Glebe Skate Park.
Trying to skate.
Yeah, I know. You were ripping always. I was trying.
We were all trying.
I was falling.
I tried that heel. Haven't battled a heel for years. But anyway, I don't want to talk about that.
We had fun.
We did, and it was just a nice day. But every now and then I just watch a skate and go like, that guy designed that and now he's skating it. So, put that into reality for us. Like, how does that feel?
I mean, I kind of like what I was saying to you today. It's every time you're skating a park that you've worked on, you're sort of, we're right in the mouth there.
Keep going, man. Yeah, I'm OCD about the sound.
I'll bring it up slightly.
Thanks,
that all
brother.
good?
Yeah, it's good. You're good.
So every time I'm skating it, like say the curb, I'm like, man, we should have got the angle a little bit mellower on this so it's easier to slappy. Or that little wall ride, if the bank up to it was a slightly higher bank and a bit of more of an angle, the wall ride would be easier. But
and
then
you learned that today.
Yeah.
So you didn't know that prior?
Well, like not all parks I get to skate. Obviously, I'm not from Sydney. So like that today, that's the first time I've skated Glebe. I've taken clients there and done stuff like that, but most of the time I'm like, damn, I want to skate this.
You're in like business corporate mode.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, work mode.
Super business.
Because like it leads into one of my initial questions is like, how important is feedback from skateboarders in the design process? So like just to cut back to, you know, the wall ride you were doing today and you're like, oh, wow, that's actually quite a harsh transition. Like, oh, and you even said, oh, that flat bank should have been a little bit more angled.
Yeah.
I could see your brain ticking over like for your next design. So how integral is feedback from skateboarders?
I mean, it's every park we're doing, we're talking to local skaters, you know, all around the country. And for us, it's like the most important step in the process because at the end of the day, it's going to be your local park. It's not my local park, right? So Glebe, for example, that has all these obstacles that are old iconic Sydney spots. But there's also people that are like, man, we've been crying out for like an obstacle like this for ages and this is what we want. So, you know, they're an integral part of that process. And it's probably like for us, it's one of the best things about the job, but it's also where the pressure comes. Like, you know, skating is so subjective and what people like to skate, whether it's transition or street or, you know, people are really good and advanced and they want, you know, challenging obstacles, or some people just want like a mani pad or a little quarter pipe.
Slappy curbs.
Or a flat bar.
Or slappy bar. Yeah.
A long round flat bar.
You're advocating for flat bars. I want more slappy curbs. Yeah, that's rad. Hey, let's get the Glebe Skate Park photos up now. We're talking about it. And look at that park.
Yeah, there she is.
Isn't she beautiful?
Looks so good.
Hey, it's my favorite. So it's my favorite skate park, and that's no secret. I've talked about it a lot here on the podcast. And from my perspective, it's my favorite skate park because I actually like the aesthetic. Yeah. So can you tell us about that? And why was that important in this design?
So probably like two really important parts of this design. One was the community involvement, like I said, like the cannonball feature, the Sydney fire hydrant, the old Glebe mini ramp, the brick banks from Darling Harbour. So all of those were direct from the community and what they were looking for. But then a big part of the space was the brick and integrating that different material into the space. So that the bridge that runs across that train line, that's heritage listed bridge, and a big part of like getting approval for the skate park was, you know, we couldn't build too close to the pillars, but also we had to sort of incorporate that brick within the design so that it basically ticked off the sort of strategic planning guidelines that council had. So, you know, the reason that skate park's there because we had to work with the heritage elements, but two, it just adds this whole different kind of character to it. It makes it feel like a spot. You get that sick clickety clack under wheel when you're rolling, which just feels like the best. But you get some good photos out of it too. It looks a little bit more authentic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a good looking park.
It is a good looking park. You know, when we first started communicating, you kind of hit me up and you're like, Shan, like, I think it's been me and Ty Colling a lot on here have been like, we've got all these new skate parks because of the Olympics. And like, based on no evidence, we don't know what we're talking about. We were just like, you know, making out like we were experts on this, but really had no clue. But you were like, yeah, maybe the Olympics have been some sort of contributor. But for example, you feel that the influx was happening and the planning stages were happening well before the Olympics. So in regards to Glebe, what was the backstory? And like, how long was this in the works from conception to completion?
So this one took a long time. I think I did the first consultation with some of my colleagues back in like 2013 or 14. And the actual construction happened like 2020. But yeah, I guess a bit on that backstory and how these parks kind of come about. I reckon you'll probably remember there was a big drought in skate parks in Sydney back before sort of 2013, 14.
I remember.
Yeah, like there wasn't any new parks for a long time. And the nitty gritty on this, it actually comes from, and I'm sure like a lot of people remember this, but so Cameron Sparks and Trent Evans and Nigel, who runs Totem
Skateboards.
Yeah, so these guys kind of lobbied and got in touch with council and basically did a lot of petitions and lobbying, and there was a big kind of the real push from the community that got this kind of in front of local government, and they got a champion through Councillor Linda Scott, and basically a voice in council that started like pushing for these things. And it was sort of the the beginning of this big change in Sydney. And I remember it big time because it was like before that we were doing a lot of parks in WA and there was nothing up here. And then all of a sudden we're working on Mona Vale, Sydenham Green, Sydney Park, Tech Park, and so many Sydney parks.
Just started to snowball.
It's all because these guys, like, actually I was talking to Cameron Sparks and he's like, I'm not blowing my own trumpet. I was like, dude, blow your trumpet. You guys like push so hard. And, like a lot of these parks come about because people are pushing and lobbying and like doing stuff behind the scenes that we just don't know about. And we're like at Convic, we're getting to come in at the fun park when the funding's actually there, but those guys are doing all the work, in the background. And yeah, like all of these parks don't really have much to do with the Olympics. I think like these days,
I was thinking, yeah,
like
everyone thinks it's because of the Olympics.
ever since 2021, these parks are popping up all over the place.
Yeah, but like
That's what I
if
thought.
you look at some of the parks around the country, like you will know if it's got something to do with the Olympics because it looks like an Olympic training facility.
Well, it's got a big bowl.
So you might like Sydney Park with the big bowl there.
Yeah.
That was actually a bit of a catalyst for that was the Vans Park Series. And at that time they were like, we need a Park Series bowl in Sydney. There's nothing like this. So yeah, that was sort of what triggered that. But say, do you know like the new Pizzey Park skate park?
That's what I just thought of when you said training facility.
For example, that looks exactly like an SLS or Olympic training course.
Like bigger rails.
Big rails, a lot of back and forth.
Everything's mirrored as well. So you can skate.
So you
on
get the front
A-frames.
side, back side.
Yep.
You can sort of complete your line.
Yep.
And there is a bit more of that going on these days. Like we are seeing very recently, councils will be like, we want to provide an Olympic training facility so that, internationals can come and train or we can have comps. And obviously with the Brisbane Olympics coming up, it is becoming a thing. But the backstory for all your parks has got nothing to do with the Olympics. It's a totally different story, and that's why they're more like, there'll be more DIY style or transition or streety because they're sort of like, it's the locals telling us not what to do, not the Olympics.
True.
Yeah. So so shout out to Cameron Sparks and Trent Evans. Trent Evans from Passport, correct?
Yeah, that's the one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So rad.
Yeah. And those guys like they, say like Sydenham Green, Tech Park, Mona Vale, Glebe, they were all at those community consultations helping us with like, we'd love a feature like this. And they were promoting the consultations through the Sydney Skate Association. But yeah, it's crazy. It feels like yesterday. I remember like Sydenham Green doing a consultation for that and there was like 50 people there and it was so heated and so much pressure. Like, you guys have got to get this right. And we're like, oh shit.
Hey, you did it right. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah. That's
I guess while we're on the topic, give us some key points on how someone can advocate for a skate park in their local area. Like what would be the first thing they could do? Write an email to council, where's my skate park?
I think like as many emails to council as you can, start a petition, I think one of the key points is trying to find a champion at council that can do the hard work for you. So Councillor Linda Scott who was sort of doing that for the Sydney Skate Association. But I don't know, like these days it's a bit different because of the, once there's a few good parks, it's almost snowball effect where every community wants one now. It's almost like the, youth
Standard
version of a playground, right? Like every little regional area needs a skate park and
When you're at those meetings with council, are you supporting the construction of a kid's playground right next door as well? Is that getting skate parks over the line? It's like a little carrot. Say like, oh yeah.
I mean, it's a funny one because you will notice like a lot of these big parks, say like Ride, Meadowbank,
it's a mega kids playground.
Glebe,
parkour and stuff too.
Even Sydney Park, it's got this sort of learn to ride track. So a lot of the funding that is coming for the skate park is because it's becoming this big family precinct.
Gotcha.
And as much as we don't want, little kids running through the park and kind of ruining our experience, it is also where a lot of the funding's coming from because it's a family friendly facility that is open to the public. It's taxpayers' dollars that are paying for these parks. So
yeah.
Ooh, yeah. Okay. So I'll see those kids on scooters as they
made it happen.
I've actually just found a reason to appreciate them slightly. Like, okay, if it wasn't for that kid, this wouldn't be here. I'll just go around them.
Deal with it.
Yeah. And I mean, we all know, like, I don't know. It all comes down to like what time of the day you go to the park. Like if you go middle of the day, you're probably like more likely to encounter little scooter kids. And then after work at night, you'll probably get it to yourself.
Yeah.
Dude, on a side note, man, shout out to this week's featured artist, Brooklyn Whelan. Those pictures are epic. Like as you were talking there, it's like awesome clouds and fire. Sick.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
That's sick.
So going back to some of the key features at Glebe, they have a historic homage to Sydney street spots. So the main ones at Glebe are the legendary Darling Harbour brick banks, which we skated today.
Yeah,
and
we tried to.
Yeah, like they're hard. It's good, like a street spot. It should be a challenge.
Challenges you, yeah.
And then also the famous Cannonball or Macquarie Place manual pad / ledge.
Yeah, so the mani pad.
Yeah, so who was pushing for those? Just like Trent Evans and
those guys were, and this was like 9 years ago, but there was another dude that came to the consultation and he bought like 3Ds, and I wish I could remember his name because
Jenkins?
I can't remember. Honestly, you're going to be here a while if you want me to remember. But like he fully bought us dimensions and 3Ds, and he's like, oh, we've got it. Like the Cannonball was one of the most important features to get in there.
Yeah, it's sick. Can we get a clip up of the old legendary and before we play this clip, so past guest and past co-host and friend Darren Caney, he used to destroy those brick banks, and there was a legendary Australian skate video made by Gordon Orkaniki called Plebs, featured the Sydney scene predominantly, and it was epic, and Darren skated those back in 1993, and have a look at what he was doing on them. What we're talking here, like 30 years ago.
It's just the switch tray that you...
He does the switch. Look at this, like frontside kickflip over the hip. And they were rough, man, and slippery. Look at this, does a kickflip on flat. Backside kickflip over the hip. There's a bit of Curl Park footage.
I can hear that. Watching it, I can hear it. Yeah.
Why does that feel so good underfoot, hey?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I reckon it comes back to that feeling.
That fakey kickflip over the hip. Okay. And look at this. Switch tray. Legendary. How does that make you feel when you watch that? Do you feel like you nailed it?
I mean, honestly, I feel like at Convic we're our own worst critics. Like we're always looking at things very, I don't know, you never really feel like you've nailed it. You always want to do better at the next park. But I feel like it's been a while since we finished Glebe, and I'm definitely proud going there. And also like, it's a huge team effort. Like it's not just one person in the office or out on site. Like, everyone's kind of looking through the drawings. We've got a massive amount of critical review, and like there would have been like probably 12 different designs for Glebe that went back to the client, the community, and always changing. So there's so many chances that we could have stuffed it up.
Okay, how much did it cost? How much did Glebe cost? Come on.
For the actual skate park, it was about 1.2 million.
Is that all?
But this is pre-lockdown and pre-COVID.
In one of Leon's vlogs,
he's got it wrong.
Leon said it was 14 grand. It's 14 million.
No, it was like 5 or 6 million, I probably said.
Yeah, so
look at what the council says, but that was the entire project, right?
Yeah, so I think
skate
it can be
park.
misleading because quite often the skate park will be part of a much larger precinct, right? There'll be a big landscape master plan that'll have like playgrounds, footpaths, car parking,
and all
toilet
that's
blocks.
there. Yeah.
So the skate park was one small component of that. But yeah, I reckon it would cost a bit more these days because since COVID, the price of steel, the price of pretty much everything has gone up a lot.
Inflation, yeah, it's expensive times, right?
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah. I mean, has there been a reluctance because of that by councils to spend money?
Surprisingly, I think everyone is pretty aware that this is what's going on in the world because it's not just skate parks. It's like, you know, the whole construction industry has gone up a lot. So, you know, the budgets that we're working on compared to other massive like community projects are probably peanuts for them, you know?
Yeah. Interesting, man. Interesting. All right, Jock, let's get another skate park up. I think we had maybe Tech Park. Now, I'm pretty sure we've got Tech Park next. Now, look at that, man. Like aesthetically, another one.
Good looking.
What do you think?
And
Leon?
good sounding when you're on the tiles.
Yeah.
Just that sound of your wheels rolling across it.
Yeah. Now, Leon, you reviewed that, right?
Yes.
In one of your vlogs. Like, what were some of the things you were discussing about it? Like, what were the standouts for you from that?
Pretty much the way it's designed. Like, we can see the features they used. The granite or the marble, the manual pads, the ledge at the flat. Even my favorite thing there is that ledge, but the other side.
outside of the
so you
down
have to
ledge.
grind the
Yeah.
whole thing to clear the garden there. Like stuff like that I really like.
Yeah.
I'm making
it's just
friends with
not-
this dog here.
It's it's just a normal ledge, but if you take away the center of it, you have to clear. So it's like a gap. That kind of stuff is cool to see. Like at Sydenham too, there's one. on
Yeah, the
manual
inside
pad.
outside. Yeah, that's definitely like something we're always like looking for those sneaky little moments
Yeah.
of something that you might not think of, and the more you skate it, you're like, oh, that could be cool.
Yeah.
So you like just the fact that you're grinding over a glass gap?
You have to clear it. Like you can't just
there,
bonk
actually
the
you
end
can
of
see
the
it
ledge.
off to the far left.
Yeah, on the left.
Yeah. I tried to nose slide that. I almost got it, but I
you
did.
got
I
a
like it as
crooked
I'm
grind?
sliding it. I got into a couple of crookeds, but I had
see
one
that.
day. But I just find that it was as you're sliding, you're like, oh wow, I'm going over dirt.
Yeah, it's long
here.
too.
Yeah,
Just it makes you like you have to lock in and hold that trick instead of just get in, get out. So I like that kind of stuff.
You got those tricks locked. I saw you holding some nose grinds today. I was like, damn.
hey, you like backside nose grind nearly that whole flat ledge, that
was
long
trying.
ledge at Glebe today.
I
You
just
got
rode
one,
the
didn't
wrong
you?
board today.
Why'd you ride a 10-inch board today? Out of curiosity.
I skated yesterday, so I wanted to try something different today. I didn't know I was going to do so much skating today.
You did skate a lot. It's
I know.
good.
I can feel it.
So what I find interesting about Tech Park, Simon, is that it doesn't have a mega kids playground attached to it.
Nah, so this one was a little bit different because it was part of this commercial business district. It was sort of, I guess there was like offset money to put towards public realm. So there's courts as well and the skate park, and obviously right next to it is a little exercise area. But yeah, this one for us, like a few of these projects we're talking about are kind of milestone projects that we were trying something different. And this one, I remember like people were like, you know, why the hell are you putting trees in a skate park? What are you doing with all these different materials? And, you know, for us,
Sick.
oh man, like, you know,
What was the complaint against the trees?
I think people are just like,
It's wasting space?
yeah, or they're getting in the way of our run, but we were pretty careful with where we put them. We had skatable tree pits, and, you know, now that you go there, like you were saying today, that it feels shady and nice in summertime.
That's the best
Yeah.
summer skate park because you're in between the trees and the big building there.
It does drop a lot of leaves and stuff, but so what? You just bring a blower?
Yeah.
And plus they're pretty good at maintaining that park. But yeah, that one, you know, the brick banks, the granite paving, the granite ledges, and just the way the whole thing's set out to be a little bit more like a kind of weird little plaza that feels like a street spot rather than just a traditional skate park. It was super fun to work on, super challenging.
Why?
Yeah.
You don't want to talk about it?
I'll tell you, like basically, so as part of the project brief, we had to introduce bricks within the design and the construction, obviously. And this was a big learning curve for us. And all of the bricks in this sort of precinct had already been specified. So we're like, oh, yeah, sweet, we'll use those bricks. And I don't know if you remember this, but basically we opened and then like a few days later we had to close because the bricks that we had installed were just not fit for use or purpose. And they were like rubbing away when people were skating them.
Like soft, like
and
chalky?
It was just, they were disintegrating.
It's crumbling.
Yeah.
We basically were like, oh my God, like it's not working. And we pulled all of them out and reinstalled them with like proper bricks that were a lot, they were more dense and, just, I don't know,
so what? That must have been a hard day at the office.
Oh, mate, it was a big learning curve.
Did you get like an email going, what have you done? Rip it up.
I mean, it's like we were the ones that noticed it. Like we're just like, what is going on? But yeah, we like, to Convic's credit, we fully ripped them out and replaced them all out of our own pocket because we wanted it to be right and last for a long time. So, I mean,
but isn't this normal for any construction job? There's always going to be something every now and then. Like nothing's perfect, right? There's never a perfect build, right?
Well, yeah, and we're always trying to learn and evolve and change what we're doing. So when you're doing that, you're taking steps and, you might not always get it right. But we try our best to, and like, obviously in this situation, we went back and fixed it. But, these things are always evolving. It's always changing what people want. And like you see what kids are doing these days, the progression is nuts. So we need to try and keep up with that, I guess.
Do you think there's more of a call for like obscure obstacles? Like,
yes and no. Like what you're saying.
Like more unique kind of stuff.
Yeah, unique kind of like.
Like I think we're in a situation in Sydney where, you've got a huge network of skate parks now. You've got the flat bars, the ledges, the perfect ledge, the perfect flat bar that, that you're talking about before. Yeah. Like now we're in this situation where there's so many different parks. We can be a bit more experimental, say like the Lane Cove Park that I was telling you about. It's all transition. It's got that weird wall ride up the rock wall. It's an opportunity for us to be like, we can be way more crazy than like maybe 6 or 7 years ago when there wasn't anything here. If we started doing really weird stuff all the time, people would be like, we want the fundamentals. Where's the like perfect ledge? Where's a mani pad?
You still get that anyway. People still say that.
Oh man, like I said to you today, like skate parks, skateboarding is the most subjective thing, and like
can't please everyone.
We'll do our best, and we try and take the majority of what the community is telling us that they want and run with that. But there's always going to be someone that's like, oh man, you missed this, or that's hard.
It's old guys who want slappy curbs, I swear.
I'm one of those old guys now.
No, you're not. You're ripping today. I seen you. Leon got a couple of clips of you. It was right.
Yeah. Got a few.
What's the perfect flat bar height?
Oh, that's confidential, bro. I can't tell you that.
But in terms of the attention to detail that you guys go into, we have come up with a formula, haven't you?
We have a set height now. Like, at Glebe, it's probably a bit too high. And that one's a square rail, which someone asked for. I wish we kind of didn't do it now. But, we have, like, there's some things in our little kind of notebook that, we know like this is a good height for the perfect height for a ledge or rail.
And this has just evolved through trial and error.
Oh, yeah. And like, I feel like I have the craziest knowledge of like what the perfect distance is to a ledge. Like, if you're doing a push start instead of dropping in, like you need this many meters. Do you
think you've built more over now that you've got a pretty stacked resume? Has community trust really built and people are just like the process is getting easier because they're just trusting you kind of know what's best. Like you're getting input, but when it comes to those details, you're like, look, just trust us. The flat bar's got to be this height and just trust us.
Yeah.
Like we're going to make the ledge this height or whatever.
Yeah. So like if most situations, what we're doing with community consultation is we want people to push the direction of what they're looking for in terms of style, whether it's transition, street, a mix of both, materiality, we really want a vert ramp, a big bolt, whatever. But in terms of like the actual technical side of what the dimensions are, the proportions, the radius, we kind of know from years of experience. Like we have guys in our office that is their sole job, just the technical side of things and making sure that it's the perfect height. Probably like one of the hardest things about designing a skate park and building it is getting the grading right. So you would probably not think like
the grading of...
So the surfaces, like how they grade, the level change so that you're not getting...
water drainage.
So you're not getting pulling of water, but also that it skates fast.
So do you think of that stuff, Leon? Like, it doesn't even cross my mind that it has to be considered.
But I skated Macquarie Field Skate Park yesterday and I noticed where the flat bar is, it goes slightly downhill. So it makes sense to where the drain's positioned too. So the water's going to lead that way.
Yeah, so that would be like the first thing that we're thinking about. Yeah. So we'll be looking at like, where's the nearest drainage pit? What can we drain into? Especially if you're doing like a mega deep bowl, you know, you can't just have it filling up with water all the time.
Swimming pool, actual pool.
Yeah, exactly. So
there's so much more that goes into it.
There's all this kind of technical stuff that is probably less interesting, but that's how it works, right?
Yeah.
So where did you grow up?
So I am from West Auckland, from a place called Oratere in New Zealand. And I moved to Melbourne in, I think, 2011. So it's been a while now, 14 years. It's pretty much a little Melbourne local.
What brought you over? Work?
Man, it's a pretty long story, but I was living in Canada and I broke my tibia and fibula in about 10 places. And I have like titanium from my knee to ankle now. And I was going to go to Europe and go and do sort of more traditional landscape architecture over there. But that forced me to go home and I was like, you know, no weight bearing for 6 months, a year without like walking properly. And by that point, it was the global financial crisis and there was no jobs in Europe. So I was like, I had a buddy, Carl, who was living in Melbourne and he's like, come over. And I'd done like a uni trip here. I was like, man, like Melbourne's sick. And there's just, you know, the economy in Australia didn't seem to be as affected. So I was like, sick. And I got a job for a landscape firm. And I was honestly getting to the point where I was like working on these projects that were sort of, you know, big residential developments, urban sprawl, things that I just was like, I didn't believe in it. And I was like, man, I don't know if this is for me anymore. And I saw like this job advertised for, you know, skate park design. I was like, no way, like that would be unreal. And I actually I didn't get the job. I interviewed so many times and I missed out. And one of my homies ended up getting the job and he was like, you should have got Simon. He's like, loves skating. And so, yeah, that was like 11 years ago.
Amazing.
So that's kind of pretty much.
Was that with Convic?
Yeah.
They knocked you back first?
Yeah. It was a tough interview process, but you know, the broken leg and all of that, it kind of led me down this path and, you know.
Look at that to happen.
That's a funny thing. Like, you know, at the time I was like, oh, this is the worst thing ever, but here we are. This is like the dream job.
So you love your job?
Man, I'm very lucky. I work with the raddest dudes. Like our team is just, you know, all my good mates, you know, we'll go for a beer on Fridays. We skate together. They all like so passionate about what we do. Like last year I got to go to Hong Kong working on a park there with one of my best buddies. And we're just like skating around the streets in Hong Kong, like pinching ourselves. Like what is going on? Like I can't even believe that this is like my
business trip.
Yeah, this is my job. And I suppose it's like what you guys do as well. It's like you got to, if you do something you're passionate about, it's the best. I feel very lucky.
Like after now doing it for a long time and you've said you've kind of evolved into the lead designer, you know, is it more stressful in that position or is it more responsibility?
I mean, everyone that I work with really cares about what we're doing and what we're putting out the door. And and I'm not like controlling every single project. Everyone's responsible for each of their projects that I'm working with. We've got a team of like 8 designers, and I guess I'm there to be like firing up the boys and like, you know, come on, man, I reckon you could do better. Or like, you know, quite often we'll look at parks in the States or, you know, plazas that are in Europe or something and be like trying to inspire each other. And yeah, I think there's definitely pressure. And like at the moment I'm working on a few parks back in New Zealand, and, you know, for me that's like, oh, you should, you know, like all the homies are like looking at what I'm doing and
got to represent,
you know, you got to get it right. But I'm I've done it for a long time, and I'm pretty like confident in my ability now of like knowing whether we've got it right or wrong, or, you know, like, you know,
more of an overseer, really, aren't you?
Yeah. I've like, there's a bunch of us that are like, there's a few old heads at Convic that have been doing it for a while. That
are you mentoring any younger ones coming through? For sure.
So there's a few young guys, and yeah, like I said, like just because you skate, it doesn't mean that like you're going to know exactly how to design a park. So trying to help those guys.
So the company is actually like cognizant of the fact that it is important to nurture the next generation of designers.
For sure.
Are they thinking that far ahead?
Yeah, definitely. And like, you know, man, if it's really hard to find people that skate that understand design. So if you're listening and you want a job, ready,
I'm looking at one. Like
hit us up.
Oh, I don't know how to build.
Oh man,
maybe
like,
there's a design side.
Yeah, like I mean, yeah, that's a great part about it is that we are building the parks, and like, you know, I learned so much starting to work for a company that's actually building the park as well as designing it, because the boys on site will be like, oh, mate, you got this wrong. Or, you know, we're constantly working back and forth with each other, and the quality, like, you know, they want to get it perfect, and it's not easy to build a skate park. Like you are troweling all day, the concrete to get it smooth, to get it grading right. Those guys kill themselves. It's
like, is that something that's evolved for you, Leon? Like with, you know, I was saying to Simon today, like, yeah, I've skated some of the parks around Sydney, but it's almost safe to say, like, you've skated like every single park in Sydney, I swear to God.
Maybe.
But have you started like through that process of like skating every park and talking about it, you know, you're starting to notice these patterns in like design features, spacing, dimensions, and you just start to go, hey, that doesn't work, that works.
Well, when you're saying you have to have the right amount of run up and landing and stuff, I've never considered that before. I was trying to think of skate parks that I remember that were too short of a run up. So I think that's kind of nailed. That thing's good because I've never had a problem with that. But just like you said, it's so subjective. You can't please everyone. Like I haven't skated the Lane Cove yet because it's all transition based and I suck at transition. But I thought that was a great idea. I seen that. I thought that too. Having that was a good idea because there's already all of those street based parks. Like what about the transition guys? Lane Cove looks so fun for someone that can skate transition. So finding something, like you said, if you come out with Lane Cove and there wasn't like Sydenham and Meadowbank and all that, people would be like, what is this? Where's all the street parts? Like, but you've got a good basis of different parks now.
I mean, that's the funnest thing about Sydney now is like, say like Olds Park, for example.
I love that place.
Yeah. So Gus, who's a designer, who's an architect in our team, was working on that, and this is sort of, I guess, how I work with the team. He was sort of doing a few concept designs of like things that people were looking for in the community. And we were like, oh, Sydney's got everything now. Like, how can we do something different? And we were like, what about if, you know, we just introduce heaps of strange steel elements and it's all custom kind of DIY little obstacles and just play with it and have some fun. And the other thing, like there was the old Olds Park skate park had this old steel quarter pipe. And we're like, oh, like how about we pay homage to that by doing heaps of weird steel new stuff.
So yeah, I actually haven't skated it yet, but I've seen heaps of footage. So like, there's these two quarter pipes that are.
It's got like the
gap,
two offset.
Not the one with
it's like a
coping.
hip almost.
It's a hip. It's a weird.
They're
hip.
offset quarter pipes.
Little staggered quarter pipes. Yeah.
Was that the tribute to those?
I mean, a little bit. Like you have to talk to Gus a bit more, but he was just trying to. This dog loves me. Yeah, you can smell my my little pup. So, hugging me.
So good.
yeah, like every feature in there like would have had a lot of thought, and everyone's sort of like reviewing it to try and get it right. But yeah, what was the question again? Sorry.
Was it
like paying homage to the old one? Like, yeah, I guess that's the sort of big idea, but then trying to do some weird stuff that's a bit of a challenge. Like each obstacle's got some unique thing that it brings a different presence, and hopefully it's challenging. And
I love it. It's one of my, it quickly became one of my favorites because I've never seen anything like that. And I was even, one of the times I went, Kieran Woolley was there. And he was like, this place is sick. It feels like it's a DIY skate park, like the way everything's built.
Yeah, right.
Like nothing is normal besides the bowl and maybe the two little down rails. That's all I can think of. That's like what you would see at a standard skate park.
Still got like the little mini ramp, but like,
yeah.
So we designed that one, and that was built by Revolution skate parks, Ramp Revolutions, I think they're called.
Right.
And they did a good job. They killed it. So I feel like, I haven't actually been to it since it's been built. I haven't been to all of the parks we've worked on, but like most of them I get a chance to go to. I was actually here 2 weeks ago. I was going to go to it, but it was super wet and pissing down.
That's one of the ones when I just said people still complain that there's no like basic obstacles. I made a video there and people were like, what? You can't even skate this park. Where's the flat bar? Where's the ledge? Like nothing's normal there. It's like you can go to another skate park. Yeah. Miranda's close. Miranda has everything as well. Like you don't have to have everything at each single skate park.
Yeah. I mean, it's subjective. It's going to be tricky. Like, I don't know. Your favorite skate park might be completely different to like what mine is, because I can't ollie anymore.
You can't ollie. I've seen you ollieing. What are you talking about?
I don't know.
I've seen you ollie today.
Tiny little ones.
What do we got next, Jock? Give me a clip. We're going to the next image we have. I think it was the Brackenridge. Is that Brackenridge?
Yeah. So
let's talk about that. So, because like I sort of asked you, like, what are some skate parks in particular that you would like to talk about? And you mentioned Brackenridge. How come?
So, I guess this one was a bit of a milestone project for us.
It looks amazing.
That was 2016, 17.
Yeah.
And, I think this was one of our first kind of more plaza-y street style parks.
Wow.
First park that we'd done a granite ledge. And this was a great combination of like me and Rowdy, who's one of the more technical designers in the team, really butting heads of like what we thought should be in the park, but like through that process something really special comes out, and like the build quality, the boys killed it. It's epic. But I think for us, like doing more of a really flat skate park that you can kind of like do flat ground tricks in between features, you can link a line together, you'll see like quite a lot of space, and like that's that run up and roll away that we were talking about.
Yeah.
I wish the little dog homie was on the camera. But
the park looks amazing.
I personally look at it. I love the landscaping. Like I love the trees in the middle. It looks sick.
So that was like something we clashed on, because I was like, mate, like if it's just concrete, it's going to feel so like big concrete wasteland. Let's get some green in there. So that was something we sort of had to figure out, and you'll see if you look closely, there's like a kicker through the trees in the middle.
That looks sick.
And that's like built of granite as well. So
I can't believe granite is a feature in skate parks. I wouldn't in my lifetime. I never thought I'd see that.
Yeah, we actually
that looks rad.
Import them straight from China. But so there's heaps of obstacles on this that at the time it was like, groundbreaking, and when it like gets built and you're just like so stoked with the outcome. And for I remember like working on the Sydenham Green consultation, Mona Vale consultation, they were all looking at that like, oh, we want like what that park's got.
So sick.
Yeah, it looks sick.
That looks amazing.
I need to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Worth the trip. It's probably a little bit rougher now.
I just had a memory like back in the day when I used to skate a lot in the 90s. The original Paddington skate park in Brisbane was just a pretty standard skate park, had a fun box, quarter pipes, had a steel half pipe. But they built it around a big old fig tree that shaded the whole park. And like everyone used to love it because of that tree.
Yeah.
And and the feeling it created while you were there. And I mean, I'm looking at this park, like, I don't know, are they trees that are going to get big and shade the park? Because that's the big thing I'm finding with skate parks is in summer, especially out Western Sydney.
Oh, mate.
Man, it's like a
Nasty.
desert out there, and it's white and bright. Or if it's black, you're just like, I can't see. And it's like literally like an urban heat island.
Yeah.
Like you guys are thinking of this stuff.
Bro, like the parks in WA, like some of those parks are the most arid landscapes, like super hot.
Arid.
Like we did the Fremantle Skate Park, and that was a long time ago now, but there was this big avenue of trees that went down the park, and now they're all like big enough that they're actually shading the park, and it feels like it's integrated into the landscape. Like, I guess that's where the sort of landscape architecture and that kind of design side of things and that thinking comes into what we're doing, that, you know, it's more than just a skate park. It's a community space. It's somewhere like kids go and hang out after school, catch up with the homies. Like, you know, they need to be somewhere that they actually want to hang out and meet up. Like a lot of the, you know, when I was skating when I was young, like I'd go and skate Avondale Skate Park in West Auckland, and like big part of it was just catching up with buddies and like sitting around having a beer.
Yeah. How old were you when you first started skating?
Man, like I remember like rolling down my driveway with my dad when I was like, I don't know, 4 or 5, but probably not proper skating until like Musker came on the scene, like probably 11 or 12 or something like that.
Have you heard of Chad Musker, Leon?
Of course. But actually,
He's the man.
I was introduced to him by Tony Hawk's Underground, maybe. When
Game?
he pulls up, in the game, he pulls up to your local park and gives you his board or something. So I was like, yeah, this is sick. And then the storyline has him and Bear Margera in it. That's how I was introduced to these legends.
Yeah.
Well, that's like even
fair enough though. Like it's generational. Like I don't want to make you feel bad for not knowing that, but it's kind of like a realization for me that the generations coming through don't know who some people are. Like there's kids that don't know who Danny Way are. Like that trips me out. Like you know who he is.
They're probably wearing DCs
like,
too.
I don't know who Danny Way is, or Colin McKay, or Rick Howard, or Mike Carroll. I'm like, oh my God, how do you not know that?
Like even like weirdly for me, in like where I grew up in West Auckland, like, you know, we weren't getting all the videos at that time, or like I wasn't. And I remember going to Video Easy and getting like the Bones Brigade video of like Lance Melton just like jumping off his roof and pushing down the street. And like that's a lot of my mates that skated at the time were a bit older and doing like bonelesses and no complies and stuff like that. And I feel like, I don't know, it's, you know, it was that. And then there was this local Kiwi video, Tweakage with, what's his name? Shea Ataria and like all the kind of old Kiwi legends. Mappy was in that, I think.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, it was a while before like I started seeing like, you know, Fulfill the Dream and all the like kind of more common 90s videos, just because, man, it was a different time. Like, I don't know, you're what, 47? I just turned 40. Like, yeah, it was definitely less floating about, and it was a lot harder to come by footage.
Yeah, it's like, and like you said, you might maybe started rolling around on a board when you were 4 or 5, but did you ever think in your wildest dreams that you'd still be skating at 40?
Nah, and like,
I know I didn't, and in fact, I love it more now than I ever.
I was just about to say, like, nowadays when I get out for a roll, I just have this, you know, this deep appreciation for like the feeling of your wheels just rolling along on concrete, and like, you know, just a few little tricks makes me super happy. Definitely not skating as much as I used to. A lot of the friends have like had families and stuff, so it's hard to link up. But I definitely like, in summer I'm skating once a week at least, and then like winter it's a little bit harder. Melbourne's a bit wet, but
do you miss NZ?
I miss like my family and friends and stuff like that. And it's weird, like when I'm there, I miss it. You know, like when you're home, you're like, oh, this is so good. Like I'm going to miss this when I'm back in Melbourne. But yeah, like I definitely miss it. And it's so nice, like going back and working in Wellington and like linking up with friends. And like for a long time, I've been doing skate parks in Australia for, you know, years and different parts of the world. But it's so nice to like finally be working and like taking what I've learned and bringing that back to New Zealand, because like, you know, I just feel like there could be some better parks there. And I'm super keen to bring what we've been doing here to like, you know, hometowns. I did. We worked on a park in Auckland called Valonia Skate Park, and that was like 2015, and that was like one of my proudest moments ever. Like designing a park in Auckland that I knew all my buddies were going to skate it, and it was sick. It like turned out really good. Like I was super proud. I mean, there's always little things you're like, oh damn, we should have done that. But for me, that was one of the proudest moments, being able to like have my mum and dad there at the opening. My nana and granddad drove and had a look, and contribute a little bit back home.
Dude.
It's cool.
Man, I wonder if they'll ever name a skate park after you. Okay, here's a question, right?
I hope not. That would be weird.
If you were ever going to get a skate park named after you, hypothetically, which one would it be?
Man, I honestly don't think I would never want a park named after me, because it's like,
okay, good answer.
I feel like it's like that community's park. It's not about us. It's sort of like
respect.
Whoever's
I was testing you out. You passed the test.
It's it's too much pressure. And like I said, like it's weird. Even I'm here, but I'm talking on behalf of like a whole team of like builders, concreters, so many people that are like invested in what we're doing. So I'm just one little part of the puzzle.
Yeah, man. So rad, dude. Were you a good student at school?
I had my ups and downs.
Nerd vibes?
Nah.
No nerd vibes?
I kind of
Leon was a nerd.
I didn't like high school that much.
How would you know?
I liked uni.
I want to talk about that.
Like once I actually got to university and I was like studying creativity and design and stuff I was passionate about.
Yeah.
Like I felt like high school I was being forced to learn stuff that I really did not give a shit about.
Dude, that's the most common theme that I hear every time.
Yeah, once I got to uni, I had these amazing lecturers that were like, just think big.
And what was the action? Like, actually, I want to get this out there for kids that may be inspired by you and want to follow a similar trajectory. Like, what was the degree called exactly?
So I studied landscape architecture.
Landscape architecture. Yeah.
But a lot of the guys in the office, like some are architects, some did building design and drafting, engineers, like
civil engineers.
Civil engineers.
Do you guys employ civil engineers, or do you contract them and stuff?
We've got some employed. Sometimes we'll contract them as well.
Dude,
but amazing.
Like so much goes into it.
Honestly, if there's like someone who is passionate about skateboarding and any type of design, I feel like it can translate and come in. Like I don't feel like there's one set career that you have to get into to get to this level. I feel like it's like work hard. You got to be willing to put in a lot of personal time because it's like we're working for the community, but at the end of the day we're also working for clients, and like quite often we're over budget. It needs to be redesigned, it's cut back, like all sorts of things that are constantly changing.
Sounds heavy. Like it just sounds heavy because you're juggling big budgets here, right?
Yeah,
like it's big.
Not always.
Big. Well, it's big money. I mean, there's still big money involved. Whether it's tight or not, it's still big money, right?
Yeah. So, and like, it's definitely, like I said, it's always evolving, and there's always some new like surprise thing that you're like, oh shit, we didn't think about that. Like, whether it's ground conditions or like flooding. Like we're working on a project in Lismore at the moment, and as you know, like Lismore floods crazy amounts. So like that's a big aspect of how we consider that design, and making sure that it can handle being completely submerged by like 5 meters of water.
Wow,
it's
man.
hectic.
What's the most expensive skate park in Sydney? Come on.
I mean, we didn't build it; we designed it, but it would be Sydney Park.
It is Sydney.
Makes sense.
Was concrete skate parks, but it was expensive because of
the landfill.
They had to do a lot of like treatment to get the geotech right. There was, do you know, like what?
That can't be healthy for people, man.
Like
they just pack it in.
Well, they do like special membranes that capture it all in there. There's like,
just push it down into the core of the earth.
Then there's also like with a park like that, because the way that they were treating it, they were pretty much like pounding the land to get it compacted, and they have to do like dilapidation reports on all the apartments nearby. and like before and after photos to check that they haven't cracked the bloody building or so
serious.
there's a lot of hectic stuff going on with, that was a big expensive park, and full credit to them for getting it finished. I know like they probably have to talk to them, but I know like they were like almost put out of business by that park for how much money it cost. And
stressful.
Yeah.
You need to appreciate it when a new skate park opens, the amount of work that goes through it.
Yeah, I mean, how do you feel when, like let's use the brick banks at Tech Park as an example. There was a bit of a drama. You had to rip them out, put them back in. How does it then feel? You go to a skate park and then you see like it's been tagged and graffitied all over. Can you share about that?
Heartbreaking.
So it is heartbreaking.
Yeah, like for us, there's so many people involved. Like those guys concreting are spending hours and hours waking up at like 5 a.m., blood, sweat and tears, putting everything into that park, And the other thing that people don't know is like I don't want to be like the fun police, but like if you're graffitiing a skate park and then council comes and like goonies that off.
They blast the ground.
They're like ruining the surface. So the more you clean it off, the more you paint clean, the rougher it gets, and it's not good for the lifespan of that facility. So,
and then because but it can be resurfaced, but that's just another big mission, isn't it?
Yeah, and
it's
then
never the
like,
same. It's never the same.
Like how hard that process was to get the money for the park in the first place.
True.
Like you have to go through that whole process again to get the funding to go and fix up what was already fine in the first place. But yeah, I mean, it happens, and at the end of the day, it's a community space and it's owned by the community. So if that's what they want to do, they can do whatever they want. But like from our perspective and from a skate perspective, I would always encourage people to be like, just try and keep the surface nice. Like, that's
what if someone does like a nice mural or a nice piece on it? Like that's right.
Yeah, I would say like try and keep it to like the walls or the vertical surface that not the floor. Less kind of skate surfaces.
Okay, so to all the graffiti people, like do it on the vertical walls.
Yeah, I mean I'm not the boss of skate parks, so whatever. Like
sometimes the council like permits like artworks to be done on the floor. I've seen some skate parks that have been painted.
Like Pizzey's got that big Shane Cross.
Like that. Yeah,
in that old section,
but that's not going to be blasted off and make the ground ruined. So that's a different case, I guess.
They leave it there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always like every skate park, it's a case by case scenario, and I don't know. Don't have all the answers, but I think it's more like for us, it's when like the new park gets graphed immediately, and you're just like,
immediately.
Come on, guys,
give it a little bit.
Give it a couple of years.
Yeah. Again, like most people aren't considering the blood, sweat, and tears and years of work that have gone into that being there. So it's actually good to hear, even for myself, because I take it for granted. I think we all take it for granted sometimes.
Yeah, I think like a lot of this stuff, it's probably like a bit of an eye opener for heaps of skaters that they don't know the backstory about, like people like Trent and Cameron like pushing and getting and advocating these parks in the first place, or like council, like the good people at council that are actually like pushing for like decent facilities and putting the funding aside for them. There's so much going on in the background. Hello, dog.
It's good that they're using their power, I guess, or their position in the skate industry to do that.
Oh, for sure. And there's, over the years, I've had so many legends I've worked with at different councils that are like so on board with what we're doing. They trust us just to let us do what we do and what we're good at, which that's the dream, because like
it's been earned though.
Yeah, like sometimes someone will be like trying to tell you how to build a skate park from council, and you're like, just let us do it. Just let us do it.
You do your job, we'll do our job.
Shut up, Karen. Hey, Jock, can we get the next park up? And I think it's the last one we've got up, and it's the one in Melbourne at Paran Skate Park.
That's it. So this is
why is this special to you?
That looks so good.
So this one,
it's got your rails
is probably our most recent build, and again, like a really long time in the process and a long time coming.
It's the vert ramp.
So that one, I think the first park was built in 1977, and there's been about 6 different editions.
One of the OGs, man.
And
the vert ramp was so symbolic. You know,
yeah, like so Christian Hosoi, Tony Hawk, Renton
Everyone.
Miller, you know, the Pappas brothers
Yeah.
were all skating that vert ramp.
Jason
So,
Ellis,
Yeah. There's a really sick picture I saw of him
Gary
there.
Valentine, Dom Kekic.
All the big dogs,
Legendary
all the big dogs.
stuff, man.
But so, yeah, I guess why it's important is all that history. There was a lot of people that commented on like what they wanted the space to be. And, you know, like I guess we wanted it to be cutting edge to show, because I feel like Melbourne's a little bit behind what Sydney's at, like in terms of, you know, new cutting edge facilities. So for us, like at Convic, we don't always get many Victoria parks. So it was like our chance to be like, this is right in our, you know, backyard. We want to get it right. And yeah, like heaps of the obstacles in that park, like not just the vert ramp, were bought from the old park, like that, the flat bar, the flat down rail was bought from the old park into the
square
new
one.
Sick.
I noticed that in some of the clips I saw.
The bank to ledge is the same proportions as the old bank to ledge. A lot of the obstacles have come through, and that's directly from the community.
What's that one feature on the pyramid? Is that a little like quarter pipe? Like, so you got the flat rail.
So
on
there's
the
like
pyramid.
a sort of
that's it. Thanks, Jock.
That's the back end of it.
quarter pipe.
Jock,
on it.
He's on it. He's a skater now. We're going to make Jock a skater, whether he likes it or not. Yeah, what is that thing? So you got the flat rail.
So you've got a little cantilevered quarter pipe on the
So
back.
that's a quarter pipe.
And then on that edge, there's like this sick little bit of granite that
I see it from this angle, you legend, Jock.
he's lost it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like this tiny little granite edge that it's just like a little bit of a variation on the coping.
I was wondering what that was. Looks
Hang
like
on,
a
is
little
there
slappy.
a light under the rail?
Yeah, so that's
sick.
another thing. Like I should
Wow.
shout out Andrea from our office, or Bosch. He spent so much time designing this park, and like hours and hours and hours at night. But he was also like down there on site, like helping them with the install, making sure we got it right.
And you opted for tile ground.
So that's bluestone paving, which is iconic in Melbourne. Like all the city streets are bluestone.
Yeah.
So that was a big thing that we wanted to get in there. That big chunk of granite, that block, that's pretty sick. The mini ramp was another one, like the old park had a mini ramp, so we wanted to bring that through and also allow for that kind of skill progression, like start on the mini ramp, work your way up to the vert ramp.
Become an Olympian.
Dude, I saw a guy the other day doing switch 540s on the vert ramp.
Switch 540s?
I can't remember his name, but
Who
it was
was
like,
it?
What?
Who the hell is it? We must know him.
man, I'd have to look on my phone.
Switch 540s, really?
Yeah.
Can't even like comprehend that.
I'm trying to think
I'll send you
who
the clip.
it could possibly be.
It was a young dude. Oh my gosh. I knew something like this had come up, but I wouldn't be able to remember. Oh man. If only I could phone a friend.
Can if you want.
Nah, it's all good.
Yeah. So what? Switch 540s on the vert ramp.
Yeah, I'll
Amazing.
try and find it and put it on the, we'll get it on the Convic Instagram.
Yeah, like I do want to go back to the Olympics, right?
Yeah,
so
let's do it.
let's just go like, I mean, okay. So how much is it coming up in conversations in design meetings in terms of breeding Olympians? Because this is the big thing for the culture. This is a big thing for skateboarding. Here we are. Where's it going? Let's go.
I mean, so certain councils will definitely be like, that's a big part of their brief is like these days, like a few of them in particular are like, we want to be able to, put our town on the map, hopefully have economic benefits that'll bring people to our town. Like if you think about the Bondi Bolorama, for example, how many people came for that, what it's doing for the economy and the little shops around the neighborhood. A lot of the towns are seeing the commercial benefit of something like that. So definitely, say like the Lismore project, they're really keen to like push the training aspect and, working with people like Donnie Fraser to set up like competitions there. So we will be talking with professionals like pro skaters, people that hold competitions, and getting that kind of perspective when we're designing it, like how can we make this better for competitions? What, where would you set up for judging? What sort of big banger obstacles do we need to put in so that it's going to bring people in? Or like just certain things. Or
mimicking potentially an Olympic skate park setup.
Yeah, like we don't.
I mean, the bowls are one thing, but the street courses.
I mean, it's a tricky thing. Like, I don't know, say if Pizzey, for example, has like a lot of these Olympic level or scale obstacles. And, I've talked with quite a few really good skaters that are just like that. It doesn't have as much flow and the obstacles are really big and it's not really what we want to skate day to day. But then others will be like, it's sick. And, Chloe Cavell was training there. I saw her do like a blunt kickflip out the other day.
So young too.
She came to like
did you see her at SLS in Sydney last year?
Yeah, she was killing it.
She came to like the Adelaide City Skate Park opening and
I've seen that.
Yeah, like she was ripping and this is kind of before she was winning some comps and I was like, oh, that girl was really good. And then next minute she's like, winning these comps up there with Racer and like
young.
All these, oh my God.
Yeah.
I mean, what's so hectic is, if you think about how many Olympic level, Karen Woolley, Keegan Palmer, Chloe Cavell, Arissa True, a lot of these Olympic level skaters that made podium are coming from Australian skate parks that aren't really Olympic level training facilities. They're more like
That's true.
kind of, non-traditional skate parks.
They're really young too, all of them people
I know.
you just named.
That's hectic. It's hectic.
I mean, I also think it's a product of coming from a privileged society. Like we are a privileged society compared to other parts of the world, where the basic needs are being met right for these children generally, even though it's an expensive country we live in. Their basic needs are met, so they have the freedom and the space to go and learn how to skate as good as they can. There's a lot of countries where kids are having to get a job really early so they can put food on the table and things like that.
Yeah.
So I think that could be a product of it as well.
Yeah, like
first world.
We're extremely lucky in Australia that like there is so many different skate parks and like even coming from New Zealand, I'm like, man, I wish that we had this many parks at home. And there's some rippers coming out of New Zealand. Like a lot of the dudes moving to Melbourne and that.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of the standard next step. You move from like Welly or Christchurch and you move to Melbourne and then
Nixon Osborne, for example.
He rips.
Oh man, he's killing it right now. Hey.
Yeah. He's super humble, nice guy as well.
Yeah.
I think he's related to Lee Ralph, right?
Is he?
I think it's his uncle or maybe, I don't know.
That explains it. Lee Ralph is the biggest legend.
Yeah.
Wild man. Do you know who Lee Ralph is? Fair enough.
He's
old
New
vert skater
Zealand's
from
not
the
gonna
80s.
pretend that I know.
Old vert skater from 80s and
He's
90s.
our best export, I reckon.
Yeah, but I mean, iconic. And an artist, profound artist as well.
Yeah, absolute G.
Yeah. Man, why does New Zealand produces the goods? Like, I actually think New Zealand produces the best comedians in the world as well, man.
Yeah, it's so weird.
Dude, like what's going on there? Like Flight of the Conchords, dude. Like,
I feel like
those guys
are sick.
Who else has come out of there that's funny as shit? I don't know. Heaps of stuff.
Yeah.
They crack me up. Best sense of humour.
I saw, what's his, Brett McKenzie, like when I was in Wellington.
Brit.
And I was like, oh my God, like real starstruck, like just walking past, like, oh my gosh. Yeah, they're so funny.
Yeah, and there's that kid who's in that movie, The Hunt for the Wilder People.
Yeah, with Sam Neill.
With Sam Neill and the kid in that. He's really like coming.
He's the same kid that was like in that ad. Have you seen that ad? And it's like, oh, my dad's like, like, and their dads are full stoners and it's like a, you know, don't do drugs and drive ad.
Yeah.
So funny. And like, I think the comedy comes because it's just so natural. Like, it's not super forced. I don't know. Yeah.
Right. It's classic, dude. Well, I want to ask as we start to wrap it up, I want to sort of put Leon on the spot. Like, what would you personally like to see more of in skate park design? And don't just say flat rails.
That's what's hard. When I'm doing my videos, I try and highlight what's good about the park, what's bad about it. I would be easily happy with a long flat bar and a ledge, but not everyone would be.
A lot of people say that, yeah.
But just a park that has variety enough for a like majority of people, like a bit of transition, some manuals, some like rails and stuff. Run up, which I never considered was a good thing that you had to plan for. But even like progression things too. So like something smaller and then something bigger. Like you said about the mini ramp leading to the vert ramp. Like if there was no mini ramp, people would be like, why is there just a giant vert ramp here? And nothing else? Like I can't even learn how to drop in here. Like little progression kind of steps.
I think like that Paran skate park, I say that in the most Kiwi way. It's meant to be like Paran, but
I thought it was Pran. I say Pran.
Probably because I've been saying it too.
Pran.
But yeah, like
It's legendary.
that park's got like the little flat bar, and then there's the big flat bar, and it's sort of like these kind of skill development within the features.
Just
but
variety,
like
I
it
guess.
is interesting from our perspective. Like, you know, what park don't you like for whatever? Like we like to hear the feedback as well. Like, you know, what don't you like and why, or what could you have done better? Because like, you know, I feel like there's a few different companies designing and building parks in Australia, and like everyone, they're all super passionate, but you know, we've all got to like learn and keep evolving as we go, or else you become like, you know, you're no longer relevant, right?
Yeah,
so I think
progression.
We definitely try and get feedback from our users, especially if it's in a place that you're not like going all the time. Like say WA will hit like Ben Bowering up or someone like that that's like skating the local parks that we've designed and built and be like, what could we do better? Like, you know, and he'll tell you straight up like, oh, you got the slappy curb wrong, or like, you know. So like I was saying today, like our more recent parks will have a bigger angle on the slappy curb, and we might have dropped it 25 mil from like 5 years ago. And, you know, you've got to go skate the park and figure it out and see what's working.
Is there any granite slappy curbs around? Just asking for a friend.
There's one in Melbourne called Highlands North, and that's granite, and it feels sick.
Would that chip away faster though? Because slappies are like you're bashing into it.
Depends how you build it.
Yeah, true.
Well, you think a slight angle on the face of the curb helps.
So a bit of a
so you
bit
ride
of
up
an
a bit
angle,
more.
and it depends like how many kind of segments it's going to be in, and how the joints work. There's so much to it. Like,
oh, dude.
Yeah.
Such an eye-opener. And me and my friends talk about this all the time. Like I never thought I would see this level of skate park design in my lifetime, to the point where it's like beyond my imagination, beyond my wildest dreams.
Yeah.
Things are being created that I never even thought of. So my first ever skate movie was The Search for Animal Chin.
Yes.
And then I seen they had a vert ramp with a spine, a roll in. They put a little mini ramp on the platform.
Yeah.
And at the time I was like I just couldn't conceive that someone had that idea, you know, and I thought, well, that's it. Like that's the pinnacle of design, you know.
Now look at it.
Wow. So, and in some ways I'm a little bit resentful. It's because I'm like, I wish they happened when I was young and fresh and could enjoy them a bit more. But I do enjoy them because it feels like there is something for everyone. Like even, you know, you asked Leon what he likes, you know, flat rails and other stuff. But, you know, for me, I'm really happy with like a fun manual pad, a nice mini ramp, you know.
Dude, we should.
And maybe a slappy curb. And I'm pretty satisfied, but on a Euro gap, a fun Euro gap.
Yeah.
And it's just, all my needs are being met, you know. It's amazing. And then when I want to step it up, there's a higher ledge, and there's a little hubber. So.
Well, that's what I was saying. Like next time, if you come down to Melbourne, come to our office. I'll show you how it all the different steps in the process, and like, you know, behind the scenes. Like even if we're doing another park in Sydney, we can like I'll stop in and show you designs and sort of how we consider things. Because it's an interesting process, and there'll definitely be like, you know, quite often like the one simple thing is less is more is generally better, because if you try and cram too many obstacles in, it
Too
gets
tight,
cluttered,
everything.
you can't get the right line.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that's one of my favorite questions at a consultation is like, you know, if you could have one feature in this park, what would it be?
Yeah, okay.
Because like that helps people go from like I want a mini ramp, I want a rail, I want this, I want that. But then like, you know, it's really hones in on like, for all this time I just wanted to kick her over a hydrant or something like that, or a perfect kicker to kicker. And then it's like for us, you know, we remember those conversations when we're back in the office and like, oh man, I got to get that right. Like, you know, that guy was so passionate about this and this is going to be his local, or he runs the skate shop and he's like got all these kids that want this. And so, yeah, that's sort of one of our dominant questions, I would say, like just trying to figure out what people actually want.
You might find the gap that's missing from other parks too, like that, the kicker over the hydrant.
Oh, for sure.
No one's got that. It makes sense to put it in.
Yeah, and like, you know, if we're doing consults, we'll get people to, you know, have you seen anything in parks in America? Or, you know, like, oh man, I went to Copenhagen a while back and...
Did you go to the Copenhagen Open?
I didn't, but I went to heaps of skate parks and just skated around the city and stuff. And that city is like the city of the future.
I've heard that.
They're thinking big and they think like they're making like spots throughout the city that are good for skating rather than just like, you know.
Oh, dude, like I can't believe you're saying that. I mean, past guest and friend, Dr. Indigo Willing, works at Sydney University. She has a fellowship and they're basically working on skatable cities and design and how making like art features skatable. And they're going through this full process at the moment. So look out for that.
Well, yeah,
you know?
like at the end of the day, you want people hanging out in cities. You want young people, you know, having somewhere to go, not just skate parks, like stuff that they can hang out in the city, like, and just session a ledge. There's, I heard Rune Glifberg talking, because he kind of is involved in the skate park design, and he was talking about this project. I can't remember, it's somewhere over like Europe. I don't know if it's Copenhagen, but it's like a full drainage system that's all concrete, and it's like a drain that they've pretty much made skatable, so it can handle the city's you know, water runoff when it's inundated, and then it dries out, and it's like that multifunctionality that's, you know, that forward thinking is, you know, it's so important because like we're running out of space and we've got to think about what's the best way we can do things that's going to suit all sorts of different people, right?
It's exciting, man. You know, like I was just thinking about the old Martin Place. There was the old Martin Place pit, which was an amphitheatre, but the ledges on the bottom step became so skatable and it was just built in a circular design. But then at the other end of the Martin Place, there was an artistic sculpture. There was like a bunch of pyramids on top of each other, and then one side of it was like just a flat bank. And I mean, and that was the most skated flat bank in Sydney, man. It was a metal flat bank, and it was never designed for that. So it was like skatable art, you know. And I just, and this is what Indigo's working on, is like this happening more in cities. Like, let's have this beautiful piece of art, sculpture that's skatable. Why not? Like, because the reality is like, it's going to just get skated anyway. They're just going to get skated. They're going to get the caps taken off them.
Yep.
Yeah.
And let's embrace it. And like you said, forward thinking countries like Norway and no, they're just so much more progressive.
Like
than us.
when I was young, we would skate ATS Square in Auckland, and you've probably seen it. It's been on like Manual magazine covers and stuff. There's this water fountain that's like these perfect kind of sort of zigzag flat banks, and it was so fun. And it had like a 3-stair and like this little ramp in with a ledge on the side that was like ground to like nothing. But, you know, at that time, I don't know, like early mid 90s, there wasn't many like fit for purpose progressive skate parks, and these spots were like really good. And now, like, they've left that there. They made it, you know, kept it skatable with the different versions as they've like rebuilt that square, but they left the like fountain skatable. And I don't know, man, I love that like sentimental meaning of those little things that like skaters think about something in such a different way, and it's so important to them. And like, you know, talking you guys through the Cannonball and the Darling Harbour brick banks, like, it's, you know, I remember like the guy sort of at that consultation for Glebe telling us about what he wanted to put in the park and like the passion, and, you know, to go to all that effort to bring like pictures and 3Ds and like, oh, if you need more information, I've got it. And, you know, like, what other humans have this attachment to the landscape and like
the urban landscape,
the urban realm like that? Like,
and that's what's different.
Skaters are weirdos.
Yeah.
They're weirdos because they're artists. It's like art skateboarding is art. It's like there's such a big component to it. And so because of the art aspect and the creativity, it's emotional. So that guy you're talking about, he had an emotional attachment to that piece of urban structure.
Yeah,
There's an emotional attachment to it, you know, and especially if you land a good trick on it, you know, and then it gets torn down, it's like, it's emotional. It's like, oh, remember when I did that kickflip at that gap and it's not there anymore. And then it becomes like, you know, what's the word? Like just legendary, like urban myth. So-and-so did a kickflip over that. And I don't know.
That's why
I'm rambling a bit, but you know what I mean?
But that's why, like, I don't know, like I love seeing any skate park designer or architect or whatever that's trying to like push it and think big and create something that you haven't seen before. Like, yes, we've got to get the fundamentals right that suits like progression and, you know, an old school ledge skater, but also trying to do something that's a little bit different, like that feature at Paran that's got like the sort of weird hip with the cantilevered quarter and the little granite ledge and
that looks so fun.
nice.
That sort of central feature, like trying to make something that just looks different than what you've seen in a skate park before.
Do the guys at Convic kind of feel like this is I know it's one of your latest projects, but it's kind of like the pinnacle of all the years of hard work?
Like, I think at the moment we're super proud of this. It's just opened, and you know, like it was a struggle. It was a long project. There was a real struggle, and definitely, you know, we designed that whole space. So the skate park, the pedestrian areas, the vert ramp, the mini ramp, the court, the balustrade and fence that goes around the whole thing. Like, I think there's a lot of thinking that's going into that, like keeping people separated from the busy road. You know, there used to be a lot of antisocial behavior and drug use because the vert ramp was at the front side of the park, blocking views in, and like it kind of became a hub for like dodgy
the
characters.
vert ramp's been moved.
So it's actually a whole new vert ramp because
I actually thought it was the OG one. Oh, because the OG one was against a wall.
The OG one was on Malvern Road, like the road on, I don't know how to explain it. I'm trying to point behind me, the other side. But basically, so we've added a foot of flat and reduced the height just a little bit.
But copied the transition curve.
Yeah, so it's pretty much like, dude, there was some very passionate vert skaters.
Did Renton Miller weigh in on that one? Surely.
Big time. Of course he did.
Say, yeah. I mean, he's the king of that play. He's I don't think anyone would have skated that vert ramp more than him.
Like, oh, man, he kills it.
Still kills it, that guy.
But yeah, like, so by putting that at the back of the site, you're opening up views, you're making it safe for like young kids that, you know, like there's a whole lot of sort of different thinking about like these social aspects of like what we're doing and like giving young people, you know, young female skaters somewhere that they feel safe and like not dodgy dudes lurking and all that, you know. So it's definitely one of our proud moments, and like it's 25 years of Convic next year. So for us, like, I think we've worked on this park like 3 different times, and for us to kind of be re-engaged and to be like, you know, this is where we're at from like where we started. It's definitely a real proud moment. And like the first roll, like all the guys were so happy, just like rolling around like, this is sick.
Looks amazing.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations to you.
Come skate it.
Yeah, we will. Let's do a mission down to Melbourne, Leon.
I'm keen. It looks so nice.
Yeah. Sure. Take the podcast on the road.
Yeah. I've got a portable setup. I'd love to actually.
Hell yeah.
Talk to some skaters down there. But, well, congratulations to you and the Convic team, obviously.
Cheers, boys.
Big project.
Yeah, keep doing what you're doing, man. And hearing your story, it's inspiring. And I really do hope that if you're out there and you're listening and you want to get something moving in your local area, whether you're in a remote place or otherwise, just start taking action, because only action brings about change. You can talk about it and think about it, but harass your councils, put it on them. They work for you. So
yeah, man, it's public space. It's taxpayers' money. You know, if you get enough people weighing in, stuff will happen. And like, I've seen it. I swear, like every skate park that we're working on and talking to that community, they're like, oh, we've been waiting for this for 10 or 15 years. You got no idea. And I'm like, I have some idea because, like,
Been in the works.
you know, everyone's talking like that. They've been waiting for so long. Like that Byron Bay one, they've been waiting for so long.
I love
and
that park.
I remember the passion and the pressure to get it right after so long.
Yeah.
Like, it was a good moment. That we're all like, you know, very proud. Like once we get a park built and we feel like we've done a good job, like it's a good moment.
Dude. How you feeling? Ready to leave it there? Is that okay?
I don't know, yeah. Like
anything else you want to say? You got it all
I've
out?
definitely got a new respect for like skate park building after learning how much goes into it.
I'll just say thanks for having us on, and I feel like it's good to have like a voice in Australia that's sort of, you know, as a skater listening to like Chima's podcast and like these really influential skaters. It's epic to see what you guys are doing, and I know like it's a lot of effort to set up a podcast and time and all that, so appreciate it and full power to you, man. I hope it keeps going well.
Right on, brother. Mr. Simon Bogalo,
you got it
everybody.
right.
And thanks, Leon. And shout out Jock, you legend. Love you, buddy. Phew. We're good.
Beautiful.